how old is too old, right? Should I be looking for properties that are built, you know, say in the last 10, 15, even up to 20 years as my area of focus for buying my next investment property? And this is something that we actually get asked quite commonly, you know, a preference potentially for properties built in the last 10 years, you know, particularly, or even out to 15 or 20 years. For me, it is very restrictive. Age, you know, it's only a number, right? You know, for me, I'm looking at the underlying quality of the dwelling. You know, just today I was looking through a property with a client that wasn't built that long ago, about 8 years ago. And gee, it has deteriorated extremely strongly in that time. You've had slab movement, you've had that really affecting all the plumbing, you've had the roof starting to leak, etc. So 8 years, that dwelling is extremely poor condition compared to a well-maintained 30-year-old property. You know, double brick, nice sturdy slab, all these wonderful things. For me, having this requirement around age of the property is really detracting from, you know, keeping our focus on the best investments, right? For me, it doesn't have really a very strong relationship at all to the quality of dwellings. If not, newer dwellings are a lower quality than older dwellings. And, you know, I'm not going out to 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 years old. I'm talking the last 30, 40, 50 years. Some of those dwellings are the most well-made properties in Australia with very low maintenance and very low scope for issues to emerge. You know, you can come in there in 5 or 10 years' time and do a cosmetic reno with very sturdy blank canvases, you know, nice double brick walls or good strong internal stud work, etc. Have got a very firm base. The only reason why I would have a preference towards newer properties is depreciation, if that is relevant to you. But even said that, okay, 10, 20, 30, you know, up to 1983, I think it is the depreciation year, you're still able to claim depreciation on these older dwellings. So very rarely does that really factor into the equation for most investors. So for me, some of the best opportunities I see are that 25, 30, 35, 40-year-old property. You know, very well maintained. We've got our building and pest inspections. We've checked everything over with a fine-tooth comb, and they sometimes are far higher quality than these properties built 5, 10, 15 years ago, which, you know, potentially have had corners cut, right? You know, for me, I've seen a lot of these newer dwellings as a lower quality than the older dwelling. Now, there's no hard and fast rules here. My preference is always to open up our catchment or the number of dwellings that we would assess as investments that fit our requirements as far as possible. I want to be looking at as many properties as possible and then picking the number one investment candidate from that. And age, with certain exceptions, is not necessarily a relevant factor towards the performance of an investment. You know, so for anywhere from 5 to 40, 50 years for me, it's all the same, and it comes down to the quality of the dwelling, the condition that it's in, and the risk of future issues. Generally, in terms of capital growth, we've seen and we've done this type of analysis, you know, the 10 or 15-year-old property doesn't perform any better or worse than the 40-year-old property if they are in tightly held, scarcity-driven locations. So for me, we want to get the options open. We want to get as many properties on the table as possible and removing these 5, 10, 15-year, 20-year requirements. Let's get the best dwellings in front of us as investors so we can make, you know, strong financial-led decisions.